I think I hope you all remember what we discussed last couple of days, right? We discussed few things like how activities that we do daily, how the mental activities, verbal and physical activities, how they become wholesome and unwholesome, right? So there are though these are three categories like mind, speech, and the body. There are 10 activities that are like sort of connected to these three, right? So I think you all remember those, especially physically there were three, and verbal activities there were four, and mental there were three, right? So after that we discussed the mental activities we discussed were like the wrong view, and then the intensified desire and ill will, right? Sometimes Thoreau described as unpleasant feeling or displeasure, right? He used the word domanas, right? Because it's only the psychological aspect of it, right? So now when we do these things, actually, uh, he mentioned a special stanza, like, where it's stated everywhere. I think we have heard this from very small days. Sabba papassa akaranam kusalassa upasampada sachitta pariyodapanam etang buddhanu sasana. Right? So the meaning roughly is refrain from all evil, perform wholesome actions, purify the mind. This is the teaching of all Buddhas, right? So we discussed in length last time, yesterday, how this happens, like each of these, how it happens when you consider these 10 activities, right? Physical, mental, and verbal activities. How these changes when each of these element have when we refrain from evil, the seven factors will not be there, right? You when you abstain from verbal and physical misconduct, right? And so we specially mentioned that by keeping silent, right? The silence is very important because sometimes it's very difficult for us to control idle chatter and things like that, right? And kusalasa upasampada, performing wholesome actions, right? They are actually, that is where most of us go wrong, because we think when we do good deeds, meritorious deeds, and when we engaged in things like that, that this kusalapsa upasampada, that is performing wholesome action, will be there, right? But it is wrong, because this directly connects to submerging or suppressing of abhijja and uh, vyapada, that is ill will and desire, right? That is suppressing these two factors. By suppressing these two only, you can qualify for that, right? You can perform a wholesome action only by suppressing these two, right? So these other activities will not get us there. So after that, we discussed how there were few things that Thero mentioned, how ditte masang bhavisati, right? We are only seeing the sight, it just become a sight, right? How this suffering is not created by these things, because now the view that we have, the wrong view, is the reason for suffering, right? So even if when you hear a noise, because of the wrong view that we have, right, this the suffering will follow us, right? So in order for us to uh, break this cycle of rebirth, we have to be engaged in, we have to change these things. And we discussed there were 8 factors which emerge within us and then instantly disappear. So it keep on emerging and emerging and emerging, right? Moment you see a thing, these 8 factors will be there, right? And then it will vanish, then again something else will happen, right? So this will keep on arising within us, right? So what Buddha want us to do is just these 8 factors in such a way that these factors, thereby we can attain nirvana, right? So how do we do this? How do we change these factors, right? So by now this process, by we how we do it, the Buddha says that we have to make each this factor become right, right? Though these are just evident, like this is a thing that happens constantly, but we have to make these factors right or noble. So now imagine at this moment when we are seated and listening to Dhamma, or else like in the afternoon when you are listening to Thero's the sermon. Now speech and our vacha kammanta ajiva. Now I hope you all remember the 8 factors. Do I have to remind again? Those are the 8 factors are view, thought, speech, bodily action, livelihood, vayama, mindfulness, and concentration, right? So those are ditti, sankappa, vacha, kammanta, ajiva, vayama, sati, samadhi. So these 8 factors had been segregated into 3 elements, right? Those are morality, concentration, and wisdom. Right? Sila, samadhi, prajna. I think all of us have heard this, right? So in this, the speech, bodily action, and livelihood. Those are the 3 factors that belong to the section of morality. Right? So actually these 3 are called a sort of a training. So when you consider the Noble Eightfold Path, it's segregated into 3 training, right? Morality training, concentration training, and then wisdom training, right? So Buddha has used the word sikha, right? Sila sikha, samadhi sikha, and prajna sikha. So morality training, concentration training, and wisdom training. So for morality training, there are 3 elements, that is speech, bodily action, and livelihood. Vacha, kammanta, ajiva. And for concentration, there are 3 more elements. Those are vayama, sati, samadhi. Effort, mindfulness, and concentration. And for the wisdom training, you have 2. That is thought and view, sankappa and ditti. Right? So these 8. Now, just like we discussed yesterday, these 8 factors are constantly activated within us. And our, like, moment these are activated, the suffering begins, right? So now we have to adjust these factors in such a way that we can achieve attaining of supreme bliss of Nibbana. So what we have to do here is, now, if in order for us to make these 8 factors to become noble or right, so we have to do something. Now most of the people, like, actually even including me, what I misunderstood was that I could make by offering alms and by engaging meritorious activities, I thought I could do this, right? So, but like, it's like this, the morality section that you can accomplish. Now Buddha has specifically said that the morality section, it's kind of, it's relates to abstaining from. It's kind of, you have to observe these, right? So you have to avoid doing certain things. But the other section, the concentration section, you have to develop. right? Now we can, the speech, bodily action, and livelihood. Those three, what we have to do is we have to abstain from, right? So we have to, we can kind of control consciously. Right now, the concentration section, the concentration training, it sort of, you have to keep on developing, right? You can't stop doing some, by doing, by stopping an activity, you cannot do it, right? Concentration is kind of a development, right? It says in Sinhalese, they say vadandone, like, it's kind of relates to vadim, whereas morality, prakima, right? You abstain from doing something. And concentration is vadim, where you have to constantly develop. But wisdom section is entirely different. That is realization. Dakim, right? So you have to realize it. So because of that, like, you can't do the, for the whole 8 factors, you can't do the same thing. There are different ways of doing it. Right now, we'll see at this moment, the 3 of the factors are accomplished, can become noble, right? Those 3 are the speech. Now, since we are not speaking, right? Now you all are quietly sitting. Now, even for me, it's not there, right? Now, speech, now you are, since you are not speaking, it has become noble. That factor has become noble or right. And bodily action, it has become noble because you are sitting still. Livelihood, it is not there. These are there, you have it, but not activated, right? Since you all are sitting still, these factors are there, but not activated, right? So you can consider this, that this bodily action, speech, and livelihood, all 3 have become noble. Now, out of the 8 factors, 3 factors had become noble, right? This can be done even a Christian, a Hindu, by anyone. If they sit still, this will happen, right? Even an atheist, this could happen. Now, what about the other factors? Now, that is where the difficulty is. The remaining factors are not easy to transform like this, right? So, if we are, the one thing is, like, sometimes people, by sitting quietly, and they think, I have samma vayam, that is, they think that I have the noble effort, right? I have the noble concentration. Now, if you sit there while listening to Dhamma, if you think you have all these 6 factors noble, then you're going to get stuck in wherever you are, right? You have to be humble enough to, I think Theros really stressed on this, be humble enough to admit that we have only 3 factors noble, right? So because of that, so if we accept this, then we know how to develop the other things. Now, effort, mindfulness, and the concentration, those have to be developed, right? Now, the transformation of effort, how can we do that? So now the thing is, now in view and thought, these all the time, these wholesome, the wholesome nature and the unwholesome nature, it keep on changing, right? So that is the problem with us. Now, when the thought, now we'll see under thought, there are 2 factors. Now, other than view, there are 2 factors, abhijja and vyapada, right? Desire and ill will. Those things will constantly arise and submerge, arise again and submerge. It keep on happening, right? It's like 2 sides of the coin. It keep either this side or that side. It will be always there for us. So we have to find a way that this is kept submerged, suppressed, right? So that is why this is kind of difficult to understand for us, right? Even I find it difficult in explain, though Thero explains it very nicely. I have a difficulty in putting words to what I feel actually. So now imagine, now we are doing, now the thing that mostly where we go wrong is, like, we think when we do meritorious deeds, that these things, the right effort is there. That's what we think. But it is not so. The right effort or the noble effort is not there. Now imagine, now when we are engaged in the eight major meritorial deeds or making offerings, right? So when we are engaged in these things, uh, what happens? One moment, now we'll say we'll be, while doing it, we'll be very happy, right? We'll be very calm when we are engaged in these kind of things. But a moment someone criticizes, what happens? The ill will come, right? Anger will come. So then what happens? The right effort is not there. For the right effort to be there, this ill will and the vyapada and vyapada and abhijja, that is ill will and desire, right? Intensified desire has to be suppressed. So by doing a meritorious deed, this does not happen. So that is why Buddha says you have to do something stronger, something more powerful in order for this to happen, right? So what Buddha prescribes is that it can be done only by a meditation object, right? A kamatahana, right? Only by a meditation directive that we can do this, right? So how does this happen? Now imagine when we keep on meditating. Now this actually this vayama, samma vayama, the noble effort, this can be achieved either by insight meditation or by tranquility meditation. Because now, but this doesn't happen initially, right? Now when you keep your focus on the meditation object, now imagine if it's a tranquility meditation, if it's loving kindness, you keep your concentration on one thought or one word, right? When you keep on doing that, not initially, but after some time, you will feel this abhijja vyapada, the ill will and the desire, intensified desire will be suppressed, right? Then you have the noble effort. That's what the Buddha has said, right? Now, even doing an insight meditation, this happens. And I think Thoreau briefly mentioned when this happens, when the noble effort happens, the 5 hindrances also get suppressed. I think you may have heard from small days this Kama Chanda Vyapada Nivarana Dhamma, it says, right? Nivarana Dharma kila kiyana. And those are Kama Chanda, Vyapada, Tina Midda, Uddacha Kukkucha and Vichikicha. Right? Those are the Kama Chanda is sense desires, right? All the desires now. And ill will is Vyapada. Tina Midda, it could be described as sloth and torpor. Or drowsiness, like something similar to that. Then Uddacha Kukkucha, restlessness and worry, and Vichikicha, that is skeptical doubt. Right? So those things, those 5 elements also will have to be suppressed for you to have noble effort. Right? He has briefly mentioned that. So that's why I thought of just mentioning these things. Now, when this happens, now what about the concentration and mindfulness? How do you develop that? The great thing is you don't have to do anything about it. You only have to worry about the noble, the effort, transforming the effort into a noble effort, right? So that happens with a meditation directive. Meditation object, where what we are doing here today is walking meditation, keeping your focus on the soles of your feet, right? By doing that, your effort can become noble, but not instantly. When you keep on practicing, the avijja vyapada, the ill will and the intensified desire will be suppressed, right? So then you will have the noble effort. But what happens to the concentration and mindfulness? Those two also become automatically those also become noble, right? So these three are sort of intertwined, like, so they are like connected. So what we have to do is now, what happens when you keep on focusing on the meditation object, right? You will develop kind of a one pointedness in your mind, right? You will develop a higher focus, ability to focus, intensified ability to focus on something, right? So then, like, then comes, then you will feel now concentration is actually, it's kind of something like a unit, right? To measure one pointedness. That's what Theru described, right? Now, so what we call samadhi, that is concentration, it's kind of like a unit which we can measure by the one pointedness in our mind, right? So even now, say the noble thought. Now, what happens when this abhijja vyapad, intensified desire and ill will suppress? What happens is the thought will become noble, right? So when you keep on meditating and when you feel the elements inside your body or on your soles of your feet, like, we told fire, fluidity, water and air elements, what will happen? Then we have the right effort, right? So we have the right mindfulness also, the noble mindfulness, right? So now Buddha has described this, the right effort. Now, how does this happen? Now, Buddha has mentioned the right effort in different ways, right? Now, I don't know whether you may have heard Satara Sammapadana Virya, right? The four noble efforts. Now, these efforts are the reason that you can make the effort noble, right? So one is, I think you may have heard Nupan Kusal, Nupan Akusal Nupadima, Upan Akusal Madapavatwima, things like that. So I will just explain one by one. Effort to overcome unwholesome states not yet arisen. So how do you do that? Effort to overcome unwholesome state not yet arisen. So you are not letting the unwholesome state that are not yet risen to rise again, right? So the second one is the effort to overcome unwholesome states already arisen. Effort to overcome unwholesome states already arisen, right? So what are the unwholesome? Now we will connect this to walking meditation. What are the unwholesome states that can arise? Now you are practicing the walking meditation. Now, what could be considered as the wholesome state? We are trying to keep our focus on the soles of your feet, right? Then what happens? You hear a noise or a thought come. Now that is what an unwholesome state is. So what do you try to do? Should you try to do? You try to divert your focus back into the soles of your feet, right? Now that is described on the third one, the effort to generate wholesome state not yet arisen, right? Now your mind went out of the meditation object, right? Kamatahana, it went from Kamatahana, went away from Kamatahana because you heard a noise and you turned to look at it. So what happened? An unwholesome state arose. So what you are trying to do again, if we are trying to make an effort to generate wholesome state not yet arisen. So now since your meditation object went away, right? So you were distracted. So because of that, you are trying to refocus on your source of your feet. Now that is an effort to generate wholesome state, not yet arisen. Now the fourth one is the effort to develop wholesome states that have already arisen. So that is now keeping your focus that is already there on your soles of your feet, keeping it on from left foot to the right, from right to the left again, right? Now, by keeping that, the wholesome states that had already arisen will be developed, right? Now, these are the four factors. I'll repeat again. Effort to overcome unwholesome states not yet arisen, right? So if you know there's a Buddha statue, right now, even a Buddha statue can be unwholesome state, can now take our mind to become unwholesome state, right? Because now see, if you while you're walking, right, the wholesome state is on the soles of your feet now, right? So when you're walking, you see a beautiful Buddha statue, and you just for a moment, your eyes you focus your eyes there, and you just for a momentarily you tend to admire that Buddha statue. Now how would you admire that, right? Then it's not by ill will, then it has to be abhijja, right? It's by desire, right? Even towards a Buddha statue, if you have a desire, that is an unwholesome state when it's come to meditation, right? So we are talking about higher states of the mind, right? So because of that, it can be that. Even so, imagine now if you hear a bird chirping, then again another unwholesome state, right? So now these four can be described like that. I'll repeat again. First one is effort to overcome unwholesome states not yet arisen, right? So if you see that you feel like listening, or if there's music, or if you initially when you start meditating, all these four are important, right? But after some time, you can practice the meditation even if there's a band playing outside, right? Your concentration will automatically come. You don't have to make an effort, right? With practice, this will come automatically. But initially, if you think that you get distracted with noise, try to choose a bit of a quiet place, right? Or else if you think you get distracted with the beautiful flowers along the walking path, try to choose a walking path away from it, right? Because that is the way how we can accomplish the first one, right? Effort to overcome unwholesome state not yet arisen. So you know that there will be an unwholesome state, that you will be distracted by these sights or sounds, right? If that is the case, you are making an effort to be away from there, right? Effort to overcome unwholesome states not yet arisen, first one. Second one is the effort to overcome unwholesome states already arisen. Third is the effort to generate wholesome state not yet arisen. The effort to develop wholesome states that have already arisen, right? So, but these are like, though it sounds very confusing, these are very simple things. So I don't think it's that difficult for you all to understand. So what we have to understand is, now sometimes one may think, now I observe the 5 precepts, right? So my right effort is there, my noble effort is already I have accomplished, but it is not so. So please remember that. So even if you accomplish 7 of it, imagine if you are not engaged in 7 of these bodily and what we described 7 factors, 7 activities, which are verbal and mind activities. If we abstain from all the 7, not 5 precepts, right? All the 7 precepts, still we have not accomplished what we want. That is noble effort, right? So once the noble effort is there, automatically the noble mindful, noble, what do you call, noble concentration and noble thought will be there, right? So these Three go in hand. You don't have to sort of make separate efforts to make convert these into double states, right? So we will discuss about the rest later. I think my half an hour is up, from 10:45 to 11:15. So I hope this, actually I have already made, I think, a small leaflet. I will, in about after we finish this program, I think Ashoka will be able to send these out to you all. The translation is not done yet, not completed, only the Sinhalese one is available. So, but only thing is, what you have to remember is the practice. So, moment you start practicing, and these things will automatically come whether you learn and memorize these things or not, right? So, whether you read these things or try to memorize or teach others, whatever that is, irrelevant if you do the practice, right? So, what we have to do is now, that day I told you, now when we come to the practical side of it. So, when we try to keep our concentration on the soles of your feet, right? So, when we keep on doing this, after some time, you will become drowsy, right? After about 20 minutes, you become drowsy. Then I told you to stop on your tracks and just look around a bit. Then the drowsiness will vanish. Then you can keep on walking again. But after about another 15 minutes, you will be drowsy again, right? Because it will come in a shorter and a shorter period, and then it will vanish altogether, and you will feel this wonderful alertness, and you can continue the meditation for a long time, even hour or two. So you wouldn't feel the time passing, right? Then after this stage, you will feel the manifestation of the four great elements inside your body. That is the fire, earth, water or fluidity, and air. So these things will be, yesterday also I described, numbness, vibrations, palpitations, the heartbeat, pains and aches here and there, right? These are actually mainly due to the mind giving wrong interpretations, because because we have used the mind for everything, right? The mind faculty has been used for everything. So it tries to do the same thing that we have trained it to do, right? It tries to give you interpretation of everything that we feel. One moment you feel the element, the next chitta, the mind will come and give an interpretation for what you have experienced, right? So generally, uh, after some time, if you are not sort of attachment or aversion, right? You have to learn these two, like in the sense not to be attached or not to have aversion towards these elements, right? That is what we are learning mainly through this meditation. Inside meditation is mainly learning how to be, not be attached or not be aversive towards anything, right? So we have to remember that. So just ignore whatever you feel in the body, just ignore even the psychologically all the thoughts that comes, just ignore, right? So when you keep on doing it, you will have lesser and lesser thoughts, and you will start, your elements will become very very subtle, right? So I think tomorrow, the fourth day, we can the fifth day, we can discuss how the other things that happens once you develop the meditation further. So you have any questions from what I told you, or any areas? I can be ready tomorrow with that. Do you want any more explanations from this? Yeah, so if you have any questions, just send me a text. So I'll explain further. Yes. Okay, Radhika, you are okay?
Yes, thank you so much that you had translated that very well. Thank you. He answered.
Right.
So thank you very much.
Okay, then. So if you can, okay, then. Teruvan Saranai. So we'll meet again the same time tomorrow. Teruvan Saranai.
Yes.